Hey everyone, Nick from Mossy Creek with this week's fly fishing forecast. Today is Monday, August 28th. Let's talk weather for a little bit. So we had some chances of thunderstorms and rain the last couple days. It didn't really pan out, so we're still sitting pretty much at base flow across the valley. Um, Pretty much groundwater is what we're looking at for most of our water flow. So if you look at a lot of the gauges like South Fork of the Shenandoah, different mountain streams, whatever, you're going to see they've almost flatlined well below average flow, and we're just kind of sitting there until things change. There's some chances that maybe some thunderstorms tomorrow. Doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot. And then for the rest of the week, we're pretty well no chance of rain. So unfortunately, we're still kind of in that low water situation. Still looking a little bit grim for the trout fishing for a little while. There is a tropical storm, possibly supposed to be a hurricane, kind of popping up down in Florida later this week. There's no real forecast, but maybe wishful thinking we'll get a little bit of rain from that. Right now, it looks like it's going to kind of go offshore, but if it comes inshore, maybe we'll get a good, dousing that we need. So we'll keep an eye on that, but for the most part, not a lot of rain rest of the week, it looks like. Good news is we do get some more mild temperatures. We're kind of done with a lot of the high 90 stuff, at least for the time being, it looks like. Really like high 70s, lower 80s throughout the rest of the week, lows in like the 50s at night. So things will start to cool down a little bit. That's going to help with a little bit of trout fishing we do have. More on that note, Mossy Creek's one of our better options. Upper South River, Buffalo Creek, Spring Run, tailwaters. That's mainly what we're looking at. You either need some spring-fed streams that have good spring flows or spring water flow, or those tailwaters. If you didn't see last week, Beaver Creek is shut down right now. There's a lot of irrigation happening. Farmers are pulling from the creek. That with the low water, beaver is extremely low and starting to get pretty warm. So the TU chapter decided to go ahead and shut that down just to keep that safe for now. So keep an eye on that. If we get some rain, hopefully you'll have that open at some point, but right now it is still closed down. So make sure you don't plan a whole weekend or weekday trip out going to fish that. So Mossy Creek's been fishing good. It's got a lot of spring influence. The restoration is done. You can go up there and check some of that water out. Be mindful of the bank. There is going to be some netting and some stuff that they're going to use to plant vegetation. So, be mindful of that. Try to stay off some of those places that look a little bit more sensitive. But we've gotten reports of fish rising up there already, and reports across the whole creek have been pretty good. Beetles and ants are still around. In the mornings when fish are eating tricos, sometimes you can start with a beetle or an ant if you don't want to go super small, and often pick up a fish if they're real picky. Have a few tricos in your box, and then you'll see some hecks coming off throughout the day. Really big mayfly. They almost look like little hummingbirds or little sailboats floating down the creek. Fish love that bug. You'll occasionally see them eating the dun or stuff as they're hatching out. But if you can catch a good spinnerfall in the evening around the riffles or some of that moving water, you can see pretty enormous amounts of those bugs, and it's a big meal for a trout, especially in lower clear water. So great fly to take advantage of. Late evening is typically some of the best fishing for that. Especially if you're coming from out of town, people tend to leave a little bit too early this time of year. Stay those last couple hours of daylight, as they can be some of the best fishing. There's a lot of extended body hex patterns and different stuff that you'll see around the internet. Problem with those extended body flies, they're so big they tend to twist your leader and can be kind of harder to cast, really wind resistant. I really like to fish brown hopper imitations. We carry a parachute hopper, and in the 8 brown, it honestly looks a lot like that hex. Sometimes I'll cut the legs off, and if you look at the bottom, that body on that thing looks just like a lot of those hex. Brown foam hopper, something like that. There's enough hoppers around that a lot of times, even through that hex hatch, you can fish a hopper and do pretty well. So big brown hoppers, yellow, tan, some small green ones still around. Load up on those, and still can have some pretty good fishing on the spring creeks. Brook trout water's extremely low. Most of those flows might not even be, or pools might not even be flowing in between them. So I would lay off them for a little bit until we get some more rain. Hopefully we'll get a good shot at some point, so that as they go into the spawn, they've got some water to work with. One thing, if you're into hiking and You know, you can do a little bit of hiking around without carrying a rod. I know that sounds crazy, but if you like just being outside, it can be kind of a fun time to go walk some of those mountain streams that you fish and see them at low flows. It is crazy how you can look at a run, and when there's water in it, you look at the cobble and it seems like everything is the same depth. But I'm telling you, when that creek dries up and you can go look at stuff you can't normally see, it's crazy what you really see in those streams. It can be a great learning time. A stream that you thought was a 2 foot perfectly level, run all the way through, all of a sudden you see there's spots where it's 3 feet deep and 4 feet deep, and those rocks and cobbles change everything, and it can make you a better angler to see what below the surface some of that stuff looks like. So if you're into just kind of going out and looking around, it can be pretty fun to check those streams out and see, how some of that place, looks without the water. It's pretty cool. Reports from the Shenandoah have been really good today. Say the bite's on fire, still really low, pretty much at base flow, so a little bit harder to get down. Got to do a little bit of dragging in places, but fish are pretty concentrated. If you make long casts, use good thin leaders, light leaders, long leaders, and not spook those fish, it can be really good. Overcast days like today, especially when it's low and clear, can play to your advantage just to help with the spookiness of those fish a little bit. On those really bright sunny days like we've been talked about, target those shade lines and structure. The bug fishing's getting really good. We're starting to see a lot of our cicadas dying off. They're laying in the parking lots and under lights and trees and stuff, and so that will really just, the cork bug fishing, the bigger poppers and stuff, that tends to get better and better as those are dying off. So topwater fishing's great. Have some of those big poppers, those cork bugs. Deer hair frogs are still a great fly to fish this time of year. When it's really low and clear and a slow bite, size down a little bit, maybe fish crayfish in hellgrammite patterns on the bottom, and it can be really effective as well. So as always, give us a call. We're happy to help with any questions you have. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of rain here in the next couple weeks. I know we sound like a broken record, but we need it for a lot of these places. So take advantage of the stuff that still fishes well while it's low, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll have more good news and more streams will start to come online. So see you next week. Thanks for listening.